Today I'd like to review the Makita XDT16Z 4-speed impact driver. If you wish to purchase the item, I will leave an Amazon affiliate link in the description of this video. It's the same exact store that I used to buy my Makita driver 3.5 years ago. So just talking about this in general, it's been 3.5 years since I bought it. I've used this driver a ton. I've dropped it multiple times from high up on a ladder. I've just been extremely hard on this, and it hasn't failed me, which is pretty impressive. It's just been all around a great tool. It's very robust. It's extremely powerful, small, lightweight. I'm going to get into the functions of this in a second here, because this has some really cool added functionality which I couldn't even imagine not using. Now I've gotten so used to it, and the added functionality, it makes your work so much easier and more precise. But I guess we can talk about just my experience with this. Like I said, I bought it 3.5 years ago. It's been reliable. It's never broken down. I love the Makita battery setup. It's just so easy to lock it in. You can do it with one hand, and just one finger, you push the button, pull it out. So I know this battery system is works for all the Makita tools, but I just wanted to bring that in, how much I love the battery system. The Milwaukees, some of the tools like the Milwaukees, you have 2 buttons here to push, and they're really hard to get out. Not so with this, super easy to pull in and out. I just love the design. It's the best design. The collet is great. I would say the only problem I've had with this is that the bit's sometimes getting stuck in the collet. And what I've done is I just kind of tap on the collet, give it a little tap, and the bit will come out. That's kind of the only thing. It happens on occasion, doesn't happen all the time, but that's pretty much the only thing actually that I've had a problem with this. The build quality is good. It's all plastic. Nice rubberized handle feel to it. The trigger's nice. And it's held up good. Like little rubber pieces on the side have held up good over the years. Some of it's starting to come off, but considering how much I've used this in tight places, and it's held up good. I'm pretty impressed with that. So I guess we'll talk about, in a minute here, we'll talk about, this has added functionality to it. So it's got adjustable speeds, but actually more than that. So let's talk about now the extra added functions that I love about this driver. So let's talk about the advanced features of this impact driver, which I love and use every single time I use this. Before I get into that, I know a lot of guys in the field will think this is gimmicky, it's not necessary, or it doesn't work. Trust me, it does, and it makes your work much easier and much better. For example, I have a friend that I worked on job sites, and I let him use this all the time, and every time he uses it, he's like, hey man, I just want to drive the screw in. Why? I don't need all this, like, what's wrong with this drill? I don't need, all this kind of stuff. And I try to explain to him, it's pretty simple to use. And he's like, I don't need all that stuff. So I think he has an older one of these. That's why. So, these features do work, and I use them all the time. So we have the trigger, of course, and above the trigger, we have something that in the manual, they call that the quick mode switching button, okay? This is the button that you use to adjust between the 4 different speeds that this drill has. You can also push a button on the bottom here and do it that way, but I always use this quick mode switching button. I mean, I can't imagine not having this here. It makes it so much faster and so much easier. So we have 4 speeds, okay? Now if I start off on the 4 speed, that's the highest torque and the fastest speed. Okay, if I go down to 3, it's a little bit less. If I go down to 2, it's even less. And if I go down to 1, it's even less. So a real world example of using this is, let's say I put it on 4 or 3. So I don't actually ever use 4 too much. It's really powerful, unless it's a really big lag bolt, for example. But let's just say I start off at 4. Okay, I start driving it at 4. Okay, Then as I get towards the middle, maybe I'll use 3 or 2, okay? And by the time I get close to the end, I might just finish it off with 1, because this 3 and 4 have a lot of power, and I've snapped bolts off with those speeds. So I like to finish things off with like 1. Sometimes I use even just 1 or 2 for smaller, finer screws that don't need a lot of torque, and it's much easier to handle at slower speeds, which is kind of cool. You can also program this. Let's say you use 4 and 2 a lot, right? Those speeds, or 1 and 4, or 3 and 4, or whatever. Different. It's sort of, you can program this button to be like a preset, and so you can have multiple presets. So you can go toggle between those presets, which is really cool. Like I said, if you use 2 a lot and then 4 a lot, you can just push the button and it'll toggle between those. Also, and this is a part of the tool that I've never really used, there's an additional functionality called Assist here that will automatically adjust for, let's say, a wood or a metal bolt or different speeds like that, depending on what you're going to use. I can actually look in the manual here and bring that up real quick and see what it says. So, for example, there's wood mode, bolt mode, T mode 1 and 2. So it's just, this is more like a manual control, and this is more for like, assisting you in specific things. Like I said, I never use this. Now that I brought up the manual and I've been looking at it 3.5 years later, of course, I might decide to try it out. But to be honest with you, I've had great results just doing it manually here. There's also a light button at the bottom. You can turn the light manually on and off. It does come on with the trigger. I just turned that off so you wouldn't blind the camera, but the light does come on when you pull the trigger. So, this being able to adjust the speed and the torque is extremely useful. Like I said, I couldn't imagine not having that on this tool now, and it's just, every time I use this, I use that feature. I love it. That's the greatest thing about this tool. And also, as with all Makita batteries, the 18-volt LXT batteries, you can push that button and it shows you the indicator. And yeah, so just great. I guess that recaps all the features of this tool. And thanks for watching.